Good afternoon, guys. My name is Alena Shautsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. And today we're going to have our live presentation regarding the most interesting and recent immigration news. I'm going to talk to you about what's happening with visas and COVID-19 vaccination requirements. We're going to talk about immigration reform progress, what's being done. We're going to talk also about new enforcement priorities and removal proceedings. I'm going to share with you some tips regarding removal proceedings and just give you some information about what's going on and what to watch out for if you are actually placed in removal proceedings. Maybe you're there now, maybe you're going to be there, maybe you received a notice of notice to appear, and so on and so forth. So of course we're going to discuss the fate of immigration reform, what's happening with that. So thank you very much for joining me. Say hi. Hi Jan, hi Jafar. Hello, say hello. Tell me where you are watching me from. Hey Shoot, hey Navid. And please prepare your questions. In the end, we're going to discuss the questions as well. So first of all, I wanted to start with the COVID-19 vaccination requirements and visas. Department of State is responsible for the visas, confirmed that COVID-19 vaccination will be mandatory for those who are seeking to come on immigrant visas. And we're talking about parents of US citizens, spouses of US citizens, children in certain situations, right? Also DV lottery winners, investors, and of course, who else? Employment visas. Everybody on immigrant visas will have to comply with COVID-19 vaccination requirements unless they're exempt for whatever reason, and we're going to discuss those reasons. The interesting part is that CDC is accepting only proof of vaccination if the person was vaccinated by an approved vaccine. And currently there are only 3 vaccines that are approved in the United States. It's Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. They also stated that they're going to accept vaccines that were recommended or approved by World Health Organization. And you can find the list of those vaccines on the World Health Organization's website. However, I've noticed that that list does not include, for example, Russian vaccine that many people in Russia took, and many regions took. They bought it from Russia. So that will be interesting. Not sure how it's going to go. Also, I've heard that mixed vaccines may not be accepted. A lot of people in Canada received, for example, and maybe in some other regions, I just do not know, received what's called a mixed vaccine. They received 1 dose, the first dose of AstraZeneca vaccine, and 1 dose, for example, of Pfizer, right? They had no idea that it's going to be a problem, and now it may be a problem. So we're going to see how it's all going to unfold. They did state that if the vaccine is not routinely available, you may be exempt from showing that you complied with the vaccination requirement. Also, you may be exempt if you can prove that you had serious adverse reaction or the doctors did not recommend you to have a vaccine administered if you are a child under 12 right now, and also if you file for an exemption based on moral or religious grounds. But that's it. I feel that it may be a serious issue for some regions. We're going to see how exactly it's going to be implemented. It's a very fresh information, and frankly, I still do not know anybody who would have to either comply or not comply with this requirement and how it's going to go. But we're going to see. I do have some clients who have immigrant visa appointments scheduled, and I'm not sure if they're vaccinated or not. Never asked them. Now I guess I better check, right? Because it may be easier for you guys if you have the same situation to get vaccinated in the United States, travel to your country for an immigrant visa appointment, we're talking about I-601A waiver situation, and then you know that you're vaccinated. You don't need to worry about being stuck there because of the vaccine issue. I would just recommend that in general. Just have vaccinated, make sure you're vaccinated here, and then you don't need to worry that in your home country, if you travel there for a visa, it's not going to be available. And this is going to be a common situation for people who are applying and have visa appointments due to I-601A waiver, okay? All right, so now we're going to talk about very important news about immigration reform and where do we stand with that. You may have seen my video about Plan C, right? Plan C, Plan A, that was made by the Democrats to include certain groups of immigrants into reconciliation provisions, was rejected by the Senate parliamentarian. Then there was Plan B. Plan B was supposed to cover everybody who would qualify for renewed registry if it would pass. Also was rejected. Plan C includes parole. Parole is a very interesting situation. It's basically permission to stay and work in the United States, stay and work, perhaps to travel if you file for advanced parole, if it will be allowed, but that's what parole is. But it all seems to be rejected by the Senate parliamentarian. Why? Because it's such an important issue that it's obviously will be always in her eyes more important than effects of the budget enrichment from any plans, right? So what to do? Well, 92 scholars, legal scholars from the United States, people who study law and how the Constitution and the laws are working, urge Vice President to sufficiently overrule the Senate parliamentarian. They are of an opinion that she has a power and the Vice President has a final say in whether or not this or that provision can be included in the reconciliation bill. And that's why 92 is a big number if you think about it. These are people with good, strong reputation. They're not just somebody who just graduated from law school. They're saying that she can and she should make her decision. And if she makes a decision that the immigration reform shall proceed, because it's best for the country at this point, she can be overruled, I believe, by the Senate vote, but it has to be 51 vote. And if she breaks the tie, hopefully for the favor of the immigration reform, it means that Democrats will win. I think it's a great suggestion because I think it will be better for everybody in this situation. We're going to see what she's going to do. Of course, it's not going to be probably an easy decision for her, just because it will be like a power move, and I'm not sure if they want to exercise that power move. Obviously, Democrats are in the majority right now. They won the elections, and it will be a power move, meaning that they're going to say that, listen, if you did not agree with us when we asked you to, now we're going to exercise our majority to do that. And I think they should do it. This is a good time to do that. Whether or not she will, we're going to see. We're going to see what's going to happen. But this is one of the solutions to this situation where Democrats are lowering their demands, if you will, or scope of the proposal, and it's not being accepted by the other side. So we're going to see what's going to happen. This is where we stand right now. Basically, we are going from the green cards for certain groups. This was proposal number A, to sort of cancellation of removal before USCIS, proposal number B, to just a parole, work permit, right? Work permit for a short period of time too. Paroles are usually given from 1 year to 2 years. They're not giving like a green card for forever, right? So we're going to see what's gonna happen. In any event, whatever is happening, remember that you need to be ready for whatever is gonna happen. First of all, you need to have reliable information and know what you're going to be paying for to different people you're going to meet, you're going to be applying for, is in fact can be applied for. I keep repeating it that when the reform is going to happen, if something is going to be passed, there are always people and organizations that will take your money eagerly, but you may not qualify for it. So you will have to make sure from a reliable source that you are qualified for it. Number two, you have to have your records ready. Taxes, criminal records, keep repeating in every video, birth certificates, marriage certificates, certificates for divorce, evidence of name change, and of course, birth certificates for your children, right? Employment records, perhaps you will need. And I know that many of you work without authorization, so what can you show? Well, you can still show that you're paying taxes, very important, right? A person who is in the United States does not have social may still apply and receive ITN or identification tax ID number, as we call them. How do you get that? With an accountant's help, help of the CPA or tax attorney. You may receive that, and you can pay and comply with your tax obligations. Interestingly enough, lack of status does not alleviate your obligation to pay taxes on earned income in the United States. Very, very important. And of course, you need to have copies of your immigration file. Make sure that there is nothing there so drastic that will disqualify you. What will be the particular qualifications? Again, we do not know yet, but I suspect we will at some point. So just make sure you are ready with everything. Hopefully, we're going to see some positive changes. And now the last positive change, good news, is that enforcement priorities were a little bit changed by Department of Homeland Security. They came up with a new memo. Why it's important? Because it shows the flexibility of the administration to find a way out of certain courts' rulings and decisions and orders. If you recall, I believe in May of just this year, this administration published memorandum to lawyers and ICE agents saying how to enforce the laws. A lawsuit followed where the judge stated that, nah, you cannot be so relaxed. It goes against everything, blah, blah, blah. So at some point, there was some time of uncertainty whether or not prosecutors and ICE officers may exercise prosecutorial discretion, which is very important. And then the higher court stated that they're going to enjoin the lower court decision, and basically prosecutors and ICE may exercise prosecutorial discretion for most of the people except for the detained, I believe, detention-related matters. So what is prosecutorial discretion? Guys, it's not an application per se. What it is, it's a broad powers that the prosecutor may use to be nice to you, okay? There is a difference between them, for example, proceeding under this charge or that charge. There is a difference between them agreeing to close your case or call you for trial. That's what prosecutorial discretion is. It's a discretion, it's a desire to give you some leniencies, for example, right? And you may want to file for it when it's appropriate. Let's say you have a very weak defense in your case. You know that most likely you're not going to win your cancellation of removal case. Maybe there are legal barriers against you. So then in your best interest would be to ask the government perhaps to administratively close your case, put it on pause until you may be able to qualify for something better, right? Maybe your child is going to turn 21 and will be able to sponsor you if the child is a US citizen, something like this. So that's what prosecutorial discretion is. In my mind, it's a power that prosecutors always had. You don't need a memo to exercise it. It's something inherent, something that belongs to them, cannot be taken away. And I think many people actually agree with that. So where we're at now is that Secretary of Homeland Security stated that enforcement is not going to be applied against non-citizen, undocumented non-citizen, only because the person does not have documents or status in the United States. Only they're going to apply it if the person presents danger to public safety, national security, so that perhaps to those who have criminal arrest convictions, most likely convictions, and those who are perhaps showed some national security, for example, terrorist, right? Suspected terrorist or participating or connecting to terrorism, something like that. So it's a good news overall. It means that they're going to focus on their resources, ICE agents and prosecutors on serious cases, and perhaps will allow people to use USCIS route more often than, for example, waiting for the adjustment of status in immigration court. That's the approach that Trump administration chose. So we're going to see. Overall, I think we have positive dynamics. We have people who are advocating strongly for the reconciliation, people who actually have a good legal background to that, and not just saying that Senate parliamentarians should be overruled just because we believe in that. They actually have legal basis for what they're saying. So we have good chances for that. Now, if you guys have some questions, I'll be happy to answer them. All right. Hi, Zakir. I have my interview. Hi, Kenzo. I have my interview April 2022. I want to know if the date will be maintained or not. Do you mean your immigration court hearing? Nobody can tell you if the date will be maintained or not. It's almost impossible, right? I know that currently what's happening is that there are a handful of immigration judges in New York that are having individual hearings by the way of video. It's called WebEx. It's similar to Zoom or Skype. And what I've noticed is that original judges are being replaced by those judges who are having this these hearings online. If you judge, the dates, by the way, are not changing. All right, the dates are not changing. So if I had to guess, I would say that by April 2022, they should settle the system and you shouldn't be having any adjournments. But of course, nobody can guarantee you that. We do not know what's going to happen tomorrow, honestly. You know, master hearings are being rescheduled a lot. That's true. All right. Hi, AQ. Madam, I want your opinion about the immigration. I am multiple discipline graduate. My qualifications as follows. All right. So you have various degrees. Guys, if you would like to immigrate to the United States, I have a very good article about that, how to immigrate to the United States, on my website, www.shautsova.com. There are just very few limited ways how to do it from overseas. In most situations, you will need to have an employer or family member to sponsor you. You cannot sponsor yourself in most situations. There are some extraordinary ability people who can sponsor themselves, for example, but you have to show that you are generating much higher income than people in your occupation, that you won some awards, you've been invited to judge others in your field, you contributed something to the development of your field of occupation, right? So it's reserved for very talented, very small amount of people. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. But let me see if we have more questions. All right. How to book, hi Sunny, how to book appointment with you? Very simple. You can use my website, www.shautsova.com. There is a thing there, schedule an appointment, or you can call my office. My secretary is very helpful. The office number is 917-885-2261. Hi Shyam, a lot of queries about the Nepalese community. Hold on. What do we do? Any suggestions? Processing times. What do you mean specifically? Please be more specific about the processing times, what interests you. In certain situations, it's possible to file a request to expedite your case, but it has to fit criteria for expedition of the case. This criteria is available at USCIS.gov website, guys. Usually, a case can be expedited if it's going to cause you a big personal loss, for example, if a company is going to lose something, if there is an urgent humanitarian reason, if there is a health concern. All right, so it's not just because you're tired of waiting, but because something is going on and you have to prove it too with evidence. Hi, Aki. Good evening. How long probably does it take to hear something from USCIS after requesting advanced parole expedition in Nebraska? If everything goes well, guys, a month. It's gonna still take a month. Hi, Kennedy. If you have an approved H-1B consular and are on asylum, can you change status without going to the country you fear persecution? No, you cannot. You may explore something and discuss it with your lawyers. Third country processing. Okay, third country processing. Once you have an asylum pending situation, you cannot switch to non-immigrant status. Asylum pending is not lawful non-immigrant status that you can change. All right. If you have not maintained your H-1B visa throughout the time, you will not be able to use new H-1B status here. It's not going to help, unfortunately. Hi, Miriam. What about DACA? Tell me, please, more what you would like to know about DACA. There are new DACA rules that came out. What does it mean? It means that DHS is codifying DACA regulations, making them official. Again, in an attempt to beat the court's decision that stated that DACA rules were implemented without the necessary public notice. So just recently, DHS issued new DACA rules complying with the public notice requirements. Well, it took them about 9 years to do that, right? Because first DACA was implemented, I believe, announced back in 2012, and now so many years later, they issued those regulations. So now it will be harder for the challenges to challenge them. We're talking about taxes, for example. States that do not like these innovations and DACA status. All right. Hi, Fadi. What is the best choice between put the asylum case on hold or close the case and go on with the case if the case is weak, as my attorney said? Guys, you have to probably consult with attorney. If you'd like to have second opinion, please make a consultation. I'll be happy to review the situation. But by communicating like this, I will not be able to answer such an important question as to what is best for you. I need to know your goals, where you stand, what your application is about, when did you file it, within 1 year? Not. Were you called for the interview? What other options you may have, right? What happened in your country? Did the conditions change? How weak or strong your asylum case? It's all very important because it's a life-changing decision you're trying to make here, whether you're going to give up your case or you're going to proceed with it. Very important, right? I would love to able to review a situation and share my thoughts on that, but without knowing all that, I won't be able to. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you find this video helpful, so please like, share it. I see some messages in Arabic. I'm not proficient in that language, do not know it at all, unfortunately. But I would like you, if you have your questions, please comment on that video and I will try to answer them to the best of my abilities. And thank you very much again for joining, and I hope to see you soon.